Well, we're 5 days out from the national championships. It's hard to believe that it's here. Um, for our student athletes, preparation started for this way back in July, the 1st of July to be exact, and it's been a long 3 or 4 months, but here we are, and we're excited to be competing at the national championships at home. I think every school out there would like to host the national championships, every major program. It's fun. We've been on a great journey. We've had an incredible event management staff working around the clock on this, and the course looks fantastic. They did a great job bringing it back to life after the pre-national meet, and our student athletes are beyond excited to compete this weekend in the national championships. We're on the men's side certainly coming off 2 really good meets at the Big Ten championships. It was awesome to go in there and defend that title, or should say, excuse me, win our title back. We didn't defend because we didn't win last year. We allowed our little brother take over the trophy for 1 year, but we did manage to win it back. But then this past weekend, obviously winning the Great Lakes regional meet and running well there, we feel we're in a good spot going into the meet. Go ahead, Jill.
How do I follow that? It's certainly a very special week here in Madison. Our athletes are very excited to host, very appreciative of the course, and especially our events management group, which has done a phenomenal job out at the course. We were out there yesterday. It's beautiful, not torn up from that pre-national meet. They did a great job recovering the grass. We can't wait to get out there on Saturday.
Just check the forecast, and it's supposed to be about 29, 30 degrees for the women's and the men's race. How much of an impact do you expect that to make, and do you see that as an advantage coming from training in colder weather?
Cold weather? That hasn't been cold around here. Cold is minus 10 degrees. What we had here in Madison last December, towards the middle part of December, that's cold. I don't want to ever see that again. 30 degrees, that's not cold. We will take advantage of that weather. We will take that weather any day over, 50, 60 degrees. Our kids train for the last 2 days in that. It hasn't been cold around here, so we hope it gets colder. I know event management don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear anything about snow, but yeah, I guess we don't want any snow, but 30 degrees, that's not cold. It was pretty cold out in Terre Haute this past weekend. I'm not sure that it hit 30, but it wasn't much above 30 degrees, and there was a awful wind blowing in out there. So we survived that, and the kids did well. So yeah, bring it on. Let's get to 29 degrees.
I'd like to add something that I think it's a beautiful week here in Madison. And when you think about cross country isn't indoor track. Outdoor track brings some elements, but it's not about the times. It's about who is the toughest team out there on the line. So I'd echo what Mick said. Make it colder, make it windier. Let snow, rain, sleet would be my wish. I know events doesn't want to hear it. My athletes hate it when I say that because they're like, Jill, we're the ones that have to actually do it. But cross country is a test of toughness. When people talk about the course and divots or little holes or just the most minor details, it's cross country. It should be difficult. It should be a challenge. And I think that's the most fun part about our sport. So bring it on. To me, the weather, it looks a little too nice this week.
Jill, can you maybe dissect what Alicia Monson's done this year? I mean, her first 2 years, she's finishing in the 10s or that range and above in Big Ten and regionals and nationals. Now she's in a class where she's finishing first. What's happened, and where does it go from here?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think that when you dig a little bit deeper into some of Alicia's results, she ran a full year as a true freshman. We did not redshirt her freshman year, so her results as a freshman, to me, were incredibly impressive. Some great performances in cross country, a little bit up and down, but as a freshman, very impressive. And then when you follow those track times, it's just been baby steps every single season. With that said, this summer, the challenge was, okay, when you get to that level that you can run 15:38 on the track, finding room, those little ticks in improvement are that much harder. And so that was my challenge to her. How can we, in a healthy way, make another leap forward? And she's really dialed in on the recovery side of the sport, allowing the intensity of her training to go up, but her energy is just so much higher than it's ever been. I'll give a lot of credit to her working closely with Nick Hours, our nutritionist. And something that I joke about a lot is if you see Alicia around McLean, she doesn't walk around McLean, she bounces around McLean. She has so much energy. Her recovery is at such a high level that we found that sweet spot to make everything click. With that said, I think another reason for her improvement is the teammates that she has surrounding her. They support her, they love her, they make sure that she feels calm and confident going into races and has zero extra pressure on her shoulders. I feel like that's my job, but then her teammates have also stepped up and allowed her to go into races, have fun, not put the weight of the world on her shoulders. And the same thing, if you saw this team on the road on the weekends or even pre-meeting, it's a really fun experience.
You guys are going to be celebrating the national championship team from 30 years ago. What will it be like having them on the course, and what did they mean to this program?
So on Friday night, we have a celebration of all past teams, all past championship teams, men and women. When you look at the list of attendees to our special event, it's like a who's who of Badger track and cross country from both genders, men and women. It's going to mean a lot having those folks around, because they are Wisconsin cross country, and our young men and women who are competing on Saturday recognize the importance of having them around, but also recognize the contribution that they've made to our history and our tradition. So huge for us, for both programs, to be surrounded by these former great athletes, and they'll get an opportunity to, at some stage over the end of the week, to interact with them, and that's exciting.
Mick, you said after Nuttycombe that you saw NAU as the standard and everyone's chasing them. Is that still where you see it now?
Oh, absolutely. It's NAU, BYU, and there's probably 3 or 4 teams on the men's side, Portland, Stanford, us, maybe Iowa State. I don't know what's separating us, but we run the meet for a reason, to crown a national champion, and we're going to, no one has a divine right to that trophy, and we're going to get out there and compete for that. It's a fun position to be in. It certainly beats last year, and getting out there and chasing this at home is going to be a lot of fun.
Follow up to that, you had 6 athletes that finished within a minute of each other on the men's side at the regional. How does that help your team as you're heading into the NCAA championship?
Regional is a completely different beast. I think the weather had something to do with how that race ran on Saturday. The wind certainly. None of the main players want to exert too much energy going into that in that race, and it's just a cat and mouse game where they're kind of chasing each other's tails around. It was on the men's side. It certainly was boxed up for through 7K. Then it opened up a little bit. They kind of raced the last 3K, and I don't think it was the women. On the other hand, it was a completely different beast. They get after it from the word go, and they don't hold back. And it's just I guess it's a gender thing. Women just pound each other into the ground. There was no consideration for, okay, what's coming next week. Alicia, something that Jill didn't talk about, at one stage in the race, Coach Kennedy and I, we were separated from Coach Miller, and it's kind of a good story to talk a little bit about Alicia and address how confident she is and in how much she's improved. But we were screaming at her, Coach Kennedy and I, right around 5K and telling her to slow down and get in and draft behind Anna Rohr, the Notre Dame's top athlete. And at one stage, she just stopped. She literally stopped in a race and went like that. What do you want from me? And basically, we were trying to explain to her, we want you to just conserve your energy for next week. And that's something that the men kind of overthink, but the women don't. They just go at it. Like, bring it on. You're not taking this title from me. It doesn't matter whether it's a Big Ten title or regional title. That's what they do.
Morgan McDonald seems to keep setting new bars for himself in his career. How does he do that? What does he have inside of him that kind of keeps himself pushing for more bigger things?
I don't think Morgan's any different from any top athlete, irrespective of the sport. They have a tremendous confidence in themselves, tremendous confidence in their training. And when you put those two together, that's what separates sometimes the number one kid from the number two kid. They just have that ability to kind of push the nerves aside, to read a race, and we talk about that constantly. In fact, I've just come from meetings with our entire squad that's running on Saturday, and it was all about reading the race and being aware of your own situation and being conscious of that at all times. Morgan has that incredible ability. You don't have to teach that to him. We always talk about running with this guy instead of something else. It can't be just all guts. You got to run with smarts. And Morgan has that incredible ability. He has a great ability to read what's going on in a race. And I think all good athletes have that.
Mick, you've coached a couple teams that have gotten in and around that sort of magic 100-point mark that you need more or less to be a contender for the overall title. Where would you say this team ranks 1 through 5 or compares 1 through 5 with those 2011 and 2012 teams?
I think we're right up there. Obviously, some things have to go right in our favor on Saturday. But that's the great thing about this national meet. It's so unpredictable often. And, it's how you handle that. You get out there and you see there's 40 individuals. In trying to explain to some of our guys today that are going out there for the first time in the national championship, some of our younger guys, those guys don't matter. You have to kind of push them aside and don't even think about it. And one of the things that we talked today, who are these individuals? Know who they are, know their jerseys, and just disregard them because they don't have any input into the actual overall team result. And it's just that being aware of you're going to be racing out there Saturday. You might be biking 60th place. And you might be still our third or fourth, fifth guy, but you're having a fantastic run. When you displace those individual runners, and it comes down to very often in that 100, you're displacing anywhere from 20 to 25 individuals. So it's very easy to get lost upstairs and not understand that. But good teams understand that. And that's going to be very important for us. So, we obviously have to get low sticks from Morgan, from Ollie Hoare, from Olin Hacker. And the support staff is pretty good. Tyson Meehy had a good run at the Big Tens. Ben Eidenschink had a great run. We had a couple of freshmen. Derek Peters stepped up at Big Tens. An incredible run for us. And this past weekend, Schwabe was unbelievable. I mean, a true freshman just coming out of high school. He went through 5K on Saturday faster than he ran 5K this time last year. And then he had another 5K to go, obviously. So the improvement of some of those young kids is remarkable.
Jill, in terms of the program as a whole, the women's program as a whole, where are you in terms of, how you'd like this program to keep getting back to where it was, 10, 15, 20 years ago, where it was always Big Ten, 1 or 2 in that range, and competing at this level we're talking about this weekend, being a contender.
That's a great question. And to get back to an earlier one about all the amazing alumni coming back this weekend, the entire 84 and 85 championship team that set the standard of what women's cross country should be here at the University of Wisconsin. I think that we are making very healthy steps forward towards that goal. Last year we were third at the Big Ten meet, third at the regional meet, and then 10th at the NCAA championships. This year, third at the Big Ten meet, second at the regional championships. We go in ranked much higher than we were last year. We're a better team. We're well-rounded, and I like that baby step of improvement that I see happening now as we're filling in with different recruiting classes and even throughout the years. The Big Ten Conference right now is unbelievable. It's becoming what volleyball and wrestling is at the NCAA level, that we put 6 teams into the national championship. I think that's sometimes hard for our women to wrap their heads around when we go to a Big Ten championship. I won't beat around the bush about it. We were not happy with a third-place finish there. With that said, we're still a top team in the country, a little bit different than how things were back in the 80s and 90s. The Big Ten has always been strong, but not quite as strong as what it is right now. Some of those teams who finish 5th and 6th walk away from that meet, and I'm close with those coaches, just feeling like they got their butts handed to them. But they're good teams that are still in the national championship. So that's a long way of saying I like the progression. I think we're in a great spot right now, and the future is very bright with our young kids.
Mick, I think one of the things that really made the national race last year was NAU took it out hard from the gun, and maybe that wasn't quite what everyone was expecting. Do you have any expectations for how the race is going to go on Saturday, or anything you're preparing for in particular?
I think it's important to consider all scenarios, what might happen. It was very interesting. We just looked at NAU splits from the regional meet, and it seemed like they were testing the waters with a certain tactic. And will they use that this weekend? Who knows? We're prepared for anything. You have to consider all scenarios. And if they go out hard, we're ready for that. If they go out slow and take take some time to get going, I figure at some stage they will. There's a couple of big kickers in this race, and if you leave it up to the last 400 or 500 meters, I don't see them doing that. But yeah, it's not just NAU, it's BYU, it's all those great teams that were competing against Stanford. I don't think we've seen a full strength Stanford team yet. And you might argue the same for Portland. They were second last year at this meet. So you have to kind of consider all scenarios, and if they and be prepared for everything. That's the great thing about some of our Morgan McDonald, Ollie, Olin Hacker. They're able to race those. It doesn't matter what way the race goes. They're prepared for that. Again, it's that race sense, knowing, being aware of what's going on around you, and I think we're prepared for that.